Okay, I would like to officially call to order the Tuesday, May 1st, 2018 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. And as always, we will start with a roll call. I am
Jeff.
Brian Barabee.
Jeffrey Bryan.
Laura Stevenson. Rebecca Longfall.
First up tonight, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now hold a public hearing under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233. Consider the notice of intent submitted by Jennifer Stewart Owen for the proposal of a garden and fence at the property located at 95 Century Mill Road. The public meeting to be held right now. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
If you want to just give a brief overview of.
Sure. I think you guys have the Bolton GIS map.
These are some pictures too.
And I got some on the device if anyone wants to use it. Basically, we're 3D 34, so we're the little wedge here.
Yep.
And this is no longer as is. It's been subdivided. So there's two house lots there and there.
So that's
So-
lot 1 and 2.
Yeah, those are the ones I remember.
Not that memorable.
Yes. Yes.
So
Which one? 3D what?
next here, there's one here and one here,
These
building
are
lots.
the two ones on Century
This one?
Mill.
This,
Yeah,
oh,
that was
okay.
Yeah.
at 12,
Yeah.
And that was the one that they split
Yep,
to make the two.
Yep.
and the rest of it, I think, belongs to Slade. And as a result, the reason I point that out is that these two lots, they basically cleared all the trees, which is, you know, you can argue it either way, but basically it put a lot of light onto the side of our lot that was under trees before. Hence the wish now to do something with this huge area, well, huge for us, area of light, now lit land, which has no trees on it, just some shrubs over by here, small shrubs. So we have two things that we need to do. One, we would like to make a vegetable garden on there now that we have some light. And secondly, we have some trees on our property that need to be either trimmed or cut down because they are endangering the house, wires, outbuildings, etc. And I did this here, Danny, you want to join? Sorry, you're way down there. but-
That's okay, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not much of an artist, but that's also on your packet. Yes, it's that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So it's a little more detailed, but basically, our lot is wetlands down here. Probably, what, a quarter of our lot is wetlands. And this is Mill Creek. The rest of our lot is largely treed house, and now it's newly exposed little piece of dirt. And so what we would like to do is, at the same time as we're doing that, we want to take down some dead trees, and some trees that are overhanging the house. And I have a lot of pictures where you can see that they're overhanging the house, or they're overhanging wire, or there's one that has sapsucker holes all the way up the trunk. And actually, there's two like that. So these are trees that need to be culled or trimmed. And that's what we like to do.
Can I ask, is the square footage of the garden, do we know approximate?
I think it's like 8 by 8. It's not going to be huge. It's just going to be a
Right.
standard.
This is a veggie guess.
Yeah.
Standard veg.
I know.
I'm thinking zucchinis, tomatoes, you know.
Standard looking for, yeah.
So in this, just to explain these pictures, this is that new house on
Yep.
lot 1.
Right.
This is that
That's the border.
sediment control, yeah, their property line as well. And so we know that down this hill here, maybe about a foot, that's the 25-foot line, from the wetland area, and it's a significant slope. So it is up gradient. This is relatively flat. That's the same area from another
Right here.
angle.
Yep.
So that's facing the road. And so I went out, looked at the site, the trees to be removed.
Just one of the trees. It's
Yeah.
leaning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's leaning over, there's one next to the chicken coop.
There's one that leans over the coop slash shed, there's two that
There's
lean
that.
over the house.
Yeah.
Here, you can see them on here too.
No, on the other side.
And then there is one that has been used by woodpeckers, but you can see there's already some, weakening and almost buckling of the bark, I wouldn't say of the tree.
No, there, you can see it. There's one behind that's the same
Oh,
way, but it's straight up, it's just hole after hole after hole all the way up.
It's tasty.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
And then also, they were looking to potentially do a picket fence or a row of natural barriers, like
Split rail
shrubs.
fence.
Split rail.
Yeah, so that it's not like a barrier, but.
But just to delineate basically the property line.
Yeah, and we thought, we could put some vines on there, whatever is a natural vine, like what's the one with the red berries?
Not bittersweet.
No, not poison ivy.
Not bittersweet.
Yeah, bittersweet.
No, no.
No.
It's an invasive species, right?
Okay, so whatever goes on there.
It is beautiful, but it'll be your worst nightmare.
Yeah,
Grapes.
yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Grapes,
grapes.
raspberries are on
The
here.
grape
Yeah,
fruit.
those choke things.
Yeah,
are
now
pretty-
that we have light, we can think of these things.
Yeah.
Before, it was not much. So, yeah, not a picket fence, just because that's very, we want something that allows light and movement of
Right.
things back and forth. And as far as the bushes, or we would put shrubs up, and that would be like forsythia, buddleia, those kinds of
Something to know.
pretty agreeable.
Any other questions?
You're not gonna grow marijuana, are you?
We might
That would be
be
kind of a
waiting
issue.
a couple of
May 8th.
Oh my goodness, that's gonna be quite a discussion.
Anyway, I don't have any questions.
Did you have any other issues?
No, I didn't have any other issues. Like I said, the lot is pretty well maintained aside from that. Like I said, I'm familiar with how far this is, I'm familiar with that lot, so I'm familiar with the resources on their lot just by coincidence. And then I think the one tree that I questioned was on this one on the corner, but if you look, it is certainly overhanging the house. And the only reason why I questioned it is because it's alive and living. In good condition aside from the fact it is overhanging the house, but because that side's been exposed, I don't know if it will weaken because of the storms. Or the way storms have been going, I should
We'll get an
say.
arborist to look at it.
That's what I was gonna say, we
Yeah.
could maybe, that's why I was
That
thinking
particular-
some things we could maybe lop off big branches, or
I
if
mean, yeah.
if the arborist says that's
Lighten it up a
okay.
little bit.
Yeah, because it's right, I've got pictures, and it's sort of,
Yeah.
but it's
It looks like a
right
claw hanging
over,
over.
yeah, it does. But it could be but you're right, that tree is perfectly healthy as far as I can make out, so maybe we could just lop off those limbs and it would be better. But I wanted to present it as a tree that is,
Yeah.
especially with the storms we're getting nowadays, it's a bit scary.
And I think Jeff's right, and arborist, or whoever you hire
Yeah.
to remove the trees should be able to tell you,
Sure.
but I would specifically ask them, what do you think of the health of the tree? Because sometimes, you just say, and again, it's totally up to you, but if you just say, I want this tree removed, they say, okay, because that's what you want as the homeowner. So if you just inquire a little bit about the
Sure.
health of the tree itself, they may provide you with other information.
Yeah, okay, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Do you recommend an arborist, or is an arborist?
We can't
that you have?
recommend contractors, arborists,
Okay.
businesses, but I'm sure you'd be able to simply Google
We have
arborists in
Angie's
the area.
list, so we'll
Yeah.
go
Find
with
something
them.
along those
Yeah.
lines,
And if there's, they may mention Bolton in the reviews,
Right.
and so then we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wondered if there was someone that you guys, but I understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah. No, I get it.
Here,
No, it's
tell
fine.
them to.
That was one of my questions was the trees. Oftentimes we'll schedule a site visit to go out and take a look, but if Rebecca was saying, I'm very familiar with this property next door as well. I've been out there, I have a really good idea of what it's like out here. I don't know if either of you would like to take a look. That would be the only thing I'd want to be interested in seeing what trees were tagged, but if you've at least had a chance to see the trees.
I thought you were out there today.
Yesterday.
No, I was out there yesterday.
Oh,
We did
yesterday.
schedule a site visit.
Oh. Did you schedule a site visit yesterday?
Yeah.
Well, everybody missed it, huh? We just,
Yep, I think Emily made it, because Emily drove by me as I was leaving. I think she thought it was at 5:30, but it was at 5 o'clock.
I missed it myself. How about you? You missed
I
it
did
too?
too.
I'm sorry.
Well, we made it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
And we
did.
took
Well,
pictures.
I
Yeah.
tried to provide the best that I could, but.
No, and you do, I mean, that would be my only question is which trees and what we think, but it seems like you
Yeah.
had a chance to at least see all the trees that are being proposed.
Yeah, I had a yellow ring around each tree.
Yeah,
Which
and
is
I think
perfect.
there's 4 live total and 3 dead, is that what it was? And the dead ones are clearly dead and probably gonna come down with any sort of
Yeah,
thing
they-
that we're gonna.
They're
Surprised
so
they didn't come
dead,
down
you might
much.
even be able to
Yeah.
push them
Yeah.
over, but we didn't want to try that. They're really dead. They're like long dead.
No wonder they're attracted woodpeckers.
Oh, no,
Well,
those
no,
aren't even
this-
the ones that are.
that
one's
ones
on
that
the
where it's
second.
actually.
Well, if you don't mind, I just would drive by. I mean, it's right Century Mill, it's right
Oh, feel free.
on that thing, and just, you know.
There's a dead one, and that's a dead one. For some reason, this picture isn't coming through, but those are the dead ones. And we have a lot of trees on our lot, and these are very, very few of them.
We like trees around here.
Yeah, there's a lot.
If you want to have a chance to get out there, I don't have additional questions right now.
I don't either, but
Um,
do you, Rebecca? Nope.
I think I've been out to the property twice. I
Twice.
think I went
Yeah.
earlier in the year as well.
It's flat.
Yeah,
and
it's,
then it's the
flat.
drop.
Very flat.
Yeah.
That's unusual, any rocks?
and this tree is not
Those
being
rocks.
removed. And that, I think
Yeah, no, that tree
that's
is
the only
fine.
one that's in that area
Yeah.
anymore, so
Yeah,
I think that would be, in
No,
my
there's
opinion, that
several.
would be the only one that I would say, why don't we leave that one,
No,
since
but-
it's the only one, but.
but I
It's
wouldn't
fine,
take
yeah.
that, I mean, that's nothing wrong with that tree. It's
Right.
not getting near anything, it's not leaning over, it's not sick. In fact, it's two different sections of the tree. It's fine, and there are other trees around, you can
Right.
see, that are perfectly fine too.
Are you doing raised beds or are you actually digging?
A big
Are
time?
you doing raised beds or are you?
No, I thought I would because the tree
I mean, you got-
roots are
You got a lot
high.
of roots.
Yeah,
raised
so I
beds
don't
might
want to
be-
damage those at all.
Yeah.
So what I would do is just put, timbers around it and raise it up, and that way we're not affecting the roots.
Right, it'd be a lot easier here too.
Yeah, well, that too, but you know what, I mean, I don't think we could go very far before we'd be hitting roots all the way around, so it's not so good.
So that's even less intrusive than.
Right.
If you want to get out and take a look,
It's not, I don't think it's necessarily, Rebecca's looked at it, she knows the trees, and they're marked, right?
Yeah, yep, but they're actually, you can see,
Somewhere, they're probably-
or it might be on the other side. Yeah, on that top left picture, there's a yellow rope
Right there.
and then a pink, yep, so
Right
there's, and then to the left.
Yep.
See it on there.
I'm happy with it.
all right.
As long as it's safe and, you know, nobody gets hurt.
Oh, no, we'll get an arborist and.
Yeah.
We'll be
Not
asked
going out
to-
with not going out with your own chainsaw.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Three?
I think. Yep,
Yeah, see, for example,
Five.
that one
negative
is the
3.
one
Three?
with that,
Oh, yeah.
the sun yellow
I was gonna say
rope
five,
around
no,
it.
it's usually-
So I marked them all so that Rebecca
Eating
and,
those, what do you think's eating those things, little woodpeckers, huh?
oh, it is, I've seen them. And it's not a little woodpecker either, it's huge.
So it's a, totally a little devil. Yeah, if you take down too many trees, you attack your house. You know that.
They're not gonna run out of trees though, I think
I
we're
mean,
good
you
on
can
that.
see, we're tree, and tree.
Yeah, oh, lots.
When Google Maps shows our house, there's no house, it's just trees.
Trees. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we close the hearing for 95 Century Mill Road.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. So now I'd like to make a motion that we have a -3 determination for the request for the determination of applicability for 95 Century Mill Road. Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye? So approved.
Can I ask what a -3 is?
It means
Yeah.
forward.
The negatives apply.
Flip,
Yeah.
so negative's a good thing for you.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So negative
Question,
means
no
you
money.
go forward with your work because it's not a substantial impact to the resource area. That's basically what that means.
You do expect cucumbers, Lily.
That really stumps a lot of.
Yeah.
Sounds a little scary.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have people who you make a positive and you're like, okay, so I'm done now, right? And you say, no,
It's
actually.
kind of right, right.
Jeff, you have to sign on that, right?
What?
Yes.
Okay, so you are all set,
All right.
and I will make a copy of that to have in my file, and I will give you the original, okay?
Okay, that's
Okay.
awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem.
You won't be until we get done second.
You wanna hang out
Oh,
with
here's
the
the
pictures,
pictures.
and I'll take, you want me to leave my lovely picture?
Yeah, if you want.
that would be
There you
good,
go.
These you want, right?
Yep, those are yours and these are mine.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Yeah, actually, I think that garden, I've been wanting to do that for so long, I'm very excited.
Say,
Thank you.
Oh.
grow, baby, grow.
Now the weather's cooperating.
Yes.
Amazing. He's gonna, yeah. I should have this memorized. I really
Come on,
should.
Brad.
I know, I'll get on that. All right, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue the public hearing under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, to consider the notice of intent submitted by Sean McCarthy for the proposed resurfacing and pervious patio located at 100 East End Road. The public meeting to begin right now.
Yay.
He is not here.
I thought, are you in the black truck?
Yes.
Okay. I thought that was
We were we just waiting for
file number?
on this? If
So-
I remember
Yes.
correctly from last
So-
meeting, we were,
Waiting for a number or something like that, right?
Yes. So we have received the file number with comments, which was a little unexpected.
What?
comments, yeah.
The following comment, DEP made the following comments. The NOI must be signed before an order of conditions is issued, so he just needs to sign in a place that he had missed. The approximate area of riverfront alteration, conversion of grass to gravel, garage construction should be quantified in the NOI. Is there an alternative location for the parking area outside the riverfront area? Does the project meet the performance standards of riverfront area 310, CMR 1058 4D? And just for clarification, that's showing that there's no other practicable,
Which there isn't.
right. Where will the grass layer be deposited? Are erosion controls proposed? So I think all of the questions are answered in my mind, aside from where will the grass layer be deposited, but that can be conditioned in my
Makes sense.
So yeah, and the other comment, but it's not. So he has to sign it, which is just an administrative before anything's done. Erosion controls.
Did he give us approximate square footage? Wasn't that one of their?
the approximate area of riverfront alteration should be quantified. So he gave us the opposite. He gave us the distance of area that would be preserved, I guess you could say, as lawn,
Right.
which is larger than what's being altered in the riverfront area. And also the garage construction is outside of the jurisdictional area. So I'm not.
If we were to condition the grass, the removed grass, do we know a proposed area that would make sense?
I mean, couldn't he just, oh, no, because he couldn't.
Yeah, so say outside the resource area, but there's no.
I mean, there is already a brush pile on the property. It's outside of 130 feet, if I'm remembering correctly. At the rear, so if you, I'll just pull up. Here. Yeah, so if you're coming in the property here, it's back here. Actually, it's a little bit closer to the garage, but. And that point's about 130, wherever that brush is.
Would that make the most sense? Just trying to think if we can.
Either that or remove it from the property.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would
He's
be.
a landscaper, isn't he?
Yeah, so I would imagine he has places
It's
to
a
bring
place
it.
that he
I was
can,
gonna say she.
you know, something. that
Recycle
needs-
it almost.
Yeah, you know, fill in.
So we could probably say, well, do we, is it no longer jurisdictional once it's out of the buffer zone?
So once it's out, can we say where it goes?
Well, yeah, can we basically just say that it's not stockpile, it was the, I'm trying to think how they worded it.
They said, where will the grass layer be deposited?
Yeah,
So.
that the grass ought to be deposited outside of the buffer zone and or off property. I just don't know if he's trying to use this fill somewhere, if
Yeah,
it's
he's
something
got,
that he has other plans, and I
Yeah.
hate to, I don't know if he's gonna come tonight. But
do
we,
you wanna hold it off to the end?
Yeah, we could.
Did he show up late last meeting?
no, he wasn't planning to come because we thought all we needed was the file, we did not
Right.
think they were gonna have comment, and most of the comments are answered, that he just needed the file number, so we'd be able to close it, and
But we
You're
didn't say
adding
not to come.
so.
Which is true.
What if
And I
that's-
did, with his sister, who I think is working for him as well,
Mhm.
she called me yesterday, yeah, it had to have been yesterday, and asked just a couple questions about it, so she knew the meeting was today. So I think maybe he's late getting out of work, I'm not sure.
We can always just table it to the end.
Yeah.
All right, we will leave this open for now. Move on down the agenda. All right, 7:30. Just about. We'll close. Yes, we can. Does everybody have a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting? I will give you a minute now. You have a minute and a half.
Minute and a half, the speed read?
Take all the time you need. I did actually read through this. And not just scan, I actually read them.
I'm good.
Good. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the draft minutes from our April 24th, 2018 meeting as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Approved. Any major mail?
Mail? No.
Okay.
Mass Wildlife, the deer moose project leader for Mass Wildlife is finally back from paternity leave, just in time before leaf out. So this Friday, I will be with them up behind Powder House doing a deer survey. And then on May 11th, we are looking for some volunteers to come out with the project leader and some Mass Wildlife techs to go continue that survey on Rattlesnake, on Hill. And I think that's it.
I'd be happy to do that. Is that going in the minutes? I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
So, you know,
And how do you count deer?
1, 2, 3,
Poop
4.
and browse.
Scat and drag.
And it's not, so they have, it's David, I'm gonna say his name wrong, Sternbeck, I think it is. And he is the deer and moose project leader, and they do the surveys. They are looking specifically at the poop and browse to show the impact on the property. I'm not sure exactly how they quantify that to say how many deer are there, but I do know they have a formula by now because they've been doing it for so long.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
So Friday they're gonna do Powder. Is that what you're saying, this Friday they're gonna do Powder Hill?
Yep.
And then May 11th they're gonna do both Vaughn Hill and Rattlesnake?
Yep, and May 11th, we're opening it up to any volunteers. The one thing is you do need a GPS, and I was told volunteers need to be able to keep up were the words I had been given.
good
Yes.
to know.
In terms of, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but it's a pretty simple process once you're out there and going, but it's more of a working movement, I guess.
Okay,
Focus.
let's get a job description.
Yeah.
So if you can get that, I'll send it to the Trails Committee.
It's on the town conservation page.
Yep.
All right, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue a public hearing under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, to consider the notice of intent submitted by Jack Maloney proposing installation of a 1,500-gallon 2-compartment septic tank and leaching facility and removal filling of an abandoned swimming pool in the backyard, property located at 232 Harvard Road. Public meeting to be held right now.
How's he doing on
Look at that.
Professional Vienna White up there.
Brandon was here, Brandon was
Yes.
here at the last meeting.
Yep.
And what we've done is we've added this area here where the existing garage is coming down. And again, the hatched area is the area that they're gonna replant.
Yep.
Gonna remove any of that, whatever you wanna call the vine, the overgrowth that's there, that's just gone rampant in that area. And put a few plantings in there. The orange are the erosion control devices, straw wattles.
Yeah.
The property line issue has been taken care of. I talked with Logan Chifo today. This line has been staked. It was staked yesterday. Everything's been squared away. The system area here had been revised for the last meeting. So instead of being 30 feet long, it's gone to 20 feet long, but it's extended downhill by 2 extra lines. So it's just the configuration's changed a little bit, just to appease the
And so,
Board of
in
Health.
terms of lines, you're talking about grading.
There is some grading. Grading really hasn't changed that much. It's still hugging the property line here, and it goes about the same
Okay.
distance down. It's the actual Presby
Oh,
pipelines that are in there.
The system itself.
Because we're taking 10 feet off of this end, we had to extend it down this way a little bit. So instead of being square, it's more rectangular going downhill.
Okay, thank you.
So, and copies were sent to Neshoba,
Okay.
just to update the permit for that.
Yep.
But
Did you discuss it with Bill prior? Did he
I
say-
talked to him after the last meeting that we were at, and once we figured out what the property line issue was, I told him that it was gonna be revised.
Okay,
So they're gonna have a change in the permit, just a revision date for that.
okay, and he seemed amendable to what you were proposing?
Yep, because everything's still outside the 50-foot buffer, so,
Perfect.
you know, for the septic part of it. So we only encroached another 7 or 8 feet maybe,
Right.
roughly. And that's pretty much about it. We added a couple of boulders over here, and a couple more plantings. I guess the only outstanding issue would be, somebody had mentioned the road runoff.
Mhm.
So you can see here, I guess it's in this area here roughly. Jerry did say today that the town must have left a pile of 3 inch.
3 to 5 inch crushed stone going
Oh,
down.
Right, yeah.
But it's been there for a while, so,
Yeah.
you know, whether it's been kind of spread out or not, that's still in this area. Maybe that was their intention. But my argument is this pink line is the property line, and you can see here's the actual edge of pavement in here. So you have between 15 and 18 feet that the town owns that, you know, when water comes barreling down Harvard Road, that, you know, it finally catches and goes in here, so.
So,
From what Brandon said, most of it looks like road sand, they're not really washout. So it's all the springtime sand, once it finally starts moving down the street from the rain and whatnot, that ends up in there, so. And it doesn't travel beyond the toe of that slope. It stays right on that bank.
okay. And I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, but I mean, that may be something you may be able to just talk to the DPW director with, and maybe you guys can work something
Exactly.
out or get a
Yep.
pile of
Yep.
riprap there or something. I don't know, but I would,
I think,
you know.
you know, being
see if you
in
would.
the location that Jerry was talking about,
Right,
and
yeah.
what Brandon was talking about, it almost seems like that was the intention
Right.
a while ago, but it never somehow was finished, whether it was on the homeowner or on Brownie at the time, so.
Sure.
So if I asked them to come on the
I
site
would-
and just throw some more down, will they do that, or is it something else?
I don't know, and that's why.
That would be a conversation to have with the
Yeah.
DPW
Okay.
I would
director,
just-
yeah.
But it's
Contact
not,
them and see
it's
what
not
they
the
say.
property. I mean, it's.
No,
the
that's
It's
the
town
town.
property,
Yeah.
so, but, yeah.
I mean, it's the town, so it's.
Yeah.
So should I get involved in that, or do I,
Sure.
Yeah.
okay.
Do you
get 'em.
guys ask the property owner?
Oh,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
No, no,
yeah,
no, no.
yeah,
No, no, no.
yeah.
It's just for them
Yeah.
to, you know, maybe even add some a little bit more
Yeah.
to help, you know, contain that sand.
Yeah.
It should be.
I would think a property owner wouldn't want the road wash coming down into their land, but,
No, but this, I mean, they,
you know.
I'm not getting into it, but there is like half a driveway in the right of way too, but.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's all,
So that's
yeah, no, that's a whole other,
But
yeah,
it-
that's,
What
that's
are
all.
you talking about, the driveway?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
that's
just
in the town
making-
right
Oh, this
away,
here.
yeah,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is just,
But so, the garage removal
The
is
old
included
garage
on this
here.
now.
yeah,
That goes, that's where the stone is, right up here. It's
Yeah.
straight up, and the stone's right in there
Right,
that they put down.
so they put the stone down into the land down
Yes,
there?
yeah.
Maybe that was
So
an
maybe
apron.
that was,
Maybe that was the apron for the old entrance to get down to the garage
Yeah.
too, so.
yeah, maybe.
could have been,
Could have
yeah.
been.
Who
But
knows?
anyway, I think just a chat with the
Yeah.
DPW director and,
Yeah, see what
just
he
to
says.
see.
Sure, he's a good guy.
Because they've got that, they get this processed concrete that they've been putting
That's right.
down along the edge
Yeah.
of the roads to help prevent that.
Mhm.
I mean, I was comfortable with this whole half of the plan,
And,
as the last time, just wanted to see this written down, it looks like we have the plantings,
Yeah,
Right,
everything's delineated, I'm comfortable with what I'm seeing, I'm curious if there's other
That was
questions.
fine. Yeah, just wanted to see that
And
other side drawn in.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It
I had
was-
that, but I had
Yeah.
it too last week.
right.
Yeah,
It wasn't
and I
right.
think the confusion, like, we knew that was gonna happen, but on the site visit, you had mentioned, oh, that may be another NOI,
Well,
so.
Jerry and I were talking about that
Yeah.
before we came in tonight, and we had talked about, he wanted to, at some point, possibly add
a garage that was attached to the side.
'Cause I was just thinking, I know someone who's gonna buy it and say, well, can I put a garage there?
Yeah,
That's a different story.
yeah.
Right, and that's
Yeah.
when we said at the sidewalk that, you know what, that's gonna be a whole nother filing, so let's just
Right.
include that side on
Right.
it. And then it never really happened, he decided not to,
Yeah.
and so it was kind of a last minute change at the last meeting, so.
If they do, they'll go in front of the
Something
board again.
Yeah.
Yeah, they gotta,
Yeah, we'll take it that way.
No hypotheticals.
All right. To your comment, I was gonna, I was like, good, all right, so, all that said, unless there are any other questions, I'd like to make a motion that we close the public hearing for 232 Harvard Road.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
You need to join the commission, and we can use another member.
You need another member?
Yeah, why don't you join?
You have the most up-to-date plans, right? If I say to approve it,
Yep, so
I
we'll
have the property.
approve the plans.
the 5/1/18, all right. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the notice of intent for 232 Harvard Road, the May 1st, 2018 plans as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All right. Okay. Is this, you have our copy?
should be 2 copies I gave to you.
Yep, so I have one that's two.
Perfect.
I don't wanna see that garage on eBay, by the way.
I don't know if I could.
Yeah.
It's a relic.
They're all relics.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
What should, now, just before I leave, I don't know what time it is. If whoever buys it, what could I say their procedure would be if they did want to do a garage? Go in front of the conservation again, or?
Yep, they would have to file a notice of intent. I will say, it looks like the well's pretty close, so they'll want to probably talk to Board of Health as well in terms of offsets. I don't know what they require.
Yeah, I didn't think about that for a garage.
Or if they do require offsets to
Yeah.
a well, I assume so. So I can say Board of Health, but certainly the commission, because the entire property is basically within the
Yeah,
buffer.
okay. good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem.
Here.
Thank you, good
See
luck.
you.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One last thing, just so he knows, order conditions will be issued next meeting, or,
Now.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
wait,
so-
yeah.
I mean, unless there's anything else, but, so we'll issue pending the commission's decision. Since they have approved it, my assumption is we are going to issue the order of conditions
Okay.
tonight. I'll make a copy and then I can contact either of you, and then you can pick up the original. There'll be a little cover sheet with this that tells you what to do, which is,
Record it.
record it at the registry of deeds, give me the book and page, and then I can sign off on the permit.
Got a deal?
Okay?
Perfect.
Okay. So nothing can happen still until that's done?
Correct.
Okay.
So it's recorded,
You
Gotta
can put
get
out the
your
erosion control.
erosion control, she's got to come out and
Inspected by me.
inspect it, and then she gives you the thumbs up.
Erosion control on?
Around the
Lot.
property, the wattles, straw
Oh,
wattles.
wattles, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can I put those down? Is that, you want to put those down right away? Is that what you
Yep,
want to
you
do?
can put
Okay.
those down right away,
Okay.
but that's it.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Yeah.
thanks.
So that's the process. So once this thing is done, it goes to the deed. to get
Registered, yeah, get
registered.
registered.
Comes back, he comes in, signs off on it, and
No, I
you
sign
sign
off.
off. on it.
Rebecca signs off.
And
it's
then
been
he can
registered.
do what he needs to do,
There's
and then he
And then
puts
there's
the,
10-day waiting
10-day
period.
waiting period.
and then they put
Yeah.
the wattles down.
Yeah.
You go out and look
I
at
have to
that,
inspect it,
to look at those, and make sure they're done.
yep,
10 days, he can start
Yeah.
pulling things out, but not
Right.
before.
yep, because there's 10-day appeal period.
10 days, who's gonna,
Neighbors.
neighbors? No, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, so it's open
right.
for that, right.
Never
Um,
happened, but
Huh?
you never have. Very
You never know.
This is
rare.
a standard.
You never know.
You never know when neighbors are.
Huh?
You never know
Happy
when neighbors
anniversary.
are. I think next week.
Next week, well, just to be, we're not gonna be here next
No,
week.
you won't.
That's why we put the week off, so you can,
Something to celebrate.
right?
Yep,
Your anniversary.
stories all for you.
Newlyweds.
Yeah, first anniversary.
There you go.
It's my gift to you, because I was dying to have a meeting.
Right, right.
Dying. Yeah, so, but for you,
It's like, oh,
you guys,
oh,
all right,
oh my God.
all right.
What a guy.
Yep, yeah.
We just didn't have
And I
enough
just
friends
didn't
to
want
show up for the
that to
meeting.
That's what it is.
Something out of
We
that.
need another, what do we say?
This would be the NOI that we just did for, Harvard.
For the Harvard Road?
Yeah.
Did Lori have the second on the?
So
Yeah.
make it
Good
easy.
job.
You keep it easy for
Good
you.
job.
Yeah, Lori.
If you have a chance and you would like to come up,
I am ready to
please
go.
come on down.
Okay. So to give a little bit of history about this.
Yeah, because I may need some too.
Yeah.
I really don't have that much.
So, this had come up at a Board of Selectmen meeting that I wasn't even there, about, maintenance of various conservation properties or
Yeah.
town-owned properties. We were actually there to appoint Jeff as the volunteer land steward.
To pay for the money.
That's it. You're
But
racking
ended
it
up,
in now.
one of the selectmen had brought up, and I think to a point it was appropriate, maybe in a different setting, but about basically working with the trust or the trust working with us to do some remediation, because during the camp season, it's heavily trafficked, even more so, and it's one of our more heavily used property out of all the properties in town, whether that be dogs, people, children,
Runners.
cross-country, everything. So that property really sees a lot of traffic, activity. We do have, that's the only property aside from Butternut that has any form of a meadow or grassland type habitat there. So it is unique in that sense, but, so I had received, or I had corresponded with someone who was in the office, for other reasons, and had suggested, you know, we want to work with you and maybe it'll be part of a conservation project. So after the last trust meeting, which I didn't attend, I received an email from Ellie, who runs the camp,
Yep.
suggesting just that. What kind of a project can we do? Because they're always looking for a conservation project.
Yeah, we do an
Right,
annual
yeah.
conservation project as part of the camp.
Yeah.
So why not do what's necessary from a
At the camp.
remediation, as long as it's within, you know, the confines of what the kids can actually do.
Right. And I know one thing that was suggested was spreading mulch along the trails. And I don't know how the commission feels about that. There's certainly quite a bit of trail there. So that would be a lot of material. I typically, I'll say just from my experience with different pests, I guess I'll put it that way, working for the Worcester Tree Initiative, I'm not a huge proponent for mulch or introducing new material in terms of woody material to other areas. But I certainly think it was a good suggestion, but I didn't know if the commission had any other ideas on projects that would need to be done. I know.
I mean, you've probably spent more time over there than any of us, at least walking
Yeah.
through it, so you know better,
Yeah.
almost even than myself,
Well,
other than Ellie.
Yeah, and I can say off the top of my head, on any one of our properties, invasives
I
is
was
number
just gonna
one.
say bittersweet, isn't bittersweet bad?
Brutal over
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
it's pretty
We used to
bad.
do a lot of invasive clearing. The kids, that's hard to do for the kids.
Exactly, and that's why
just nasty.
I'm
I mean,
just
we've done it
saying
with tractors
progress.
over there,
Yeah.
we've done it with, you
Yeah,
know,
it's
brush
nasty.
hogs, we've
Mhm.
done it with,
Yeah.
and it's brutal.
Yeah.
Haven't figured out the perfect cure for that.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
A few, like we had discussed, we were applying for a grant, which we unfortunately didn't receive, or ended up not being applicable.
Yeah,
Or eligible,
and how
excuse
we
me, yeah.
were applying.
But we were looking at putting in a relatively short accessible trail and making it a loop. But as part of that, making some informational signage for bird habitat for some of the habitats that we have on the property, whether that be beaver, whether that be, like I said, the bird species that are there, there's wood duck there. And I don't know if that's necessarily remediation, but it certainly fits the conservation project.
How do you see that, Rebecca? Do you see it as signage? Do you see it as a new trail? Do you see it as, how do you envision that?
Don't see it as a new trail. I think I see it more in the form of signage. I think that property's fine in terms of the trails that are on the property.
Yeah, this point is
Yeah.
that's sufficient. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't encourage increasing the trails, and the accessible trail would have been encompassing one that was already there.
Right. Okay.
I'm trying to think. I do know the bench at the corner there, there was some artwork sort of around it,
Mhm.
some natural artwork that
Yeah.
I know got damaged
Oh, it did.
in the storm, and I think from beaver activity. So that's another item. And actually, some plantings may be beneficial because of the beaver activity down there,
Plantings around,
around the bankings,
Yeah,
around
kinda
the
show
pond
up.
there.
makes good sense. I mean,
That-
it's,
now that I'm
yeah, you know, no,
working
I
through
it,
the
it
things
makes,
that need to be done.
We should
Perfect sense.
we should take a look, you know, and
Yeah.
just go in there and just take some photographs and walk the trails, just see what's going on with it, and bring them back.
I mean, I'm fine to do a site visit, but I can say I've probably
Yeah.
made pictures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, exactly, and that's,
Huh.
I think what would probably work best if you kind of review those three things, you know, I'm not sure what planting entails, you know.
Right,
I'm
no,
not sure what,
yeah.
you know, the bench area, Ellie will have a good idea of the bench
Yes,
area,
yeah.
and then even the signage, there may be something we can do with signage. I just think what we need to do is probably put you and Ellie together
Okay.
to kind of just, and we, you know, the trust would be willing to front the materials and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, I think in principle, I think we have the right idea, and that any type of remediation that should happen, it makes a lot of sense to use it as a project with the kids, which is great on our end because we'd love to educate the kids more.
Yeah.
And it's just a question of, depending on the year and the weather,
Right.
what that project is.
That's true,
And then
too.
it's probably you working with Ellie, or Ellie submitting to you a list of
Yeah.
some projects.
And it's actually
Fix
good
my
to have a
work,
list of projects because, you know, I don't know if she runs a project per week or a project over the course of the time, or you may be able to break a project into its component pieces, but we basically run it for 8 weeks. So you may be able to get a certain amount of work done each week if it's a larger project.
sections of it.
Maybe even get the kids' input. You know, what do you
Yeah.
say that
Yeah?
needs to be
Yeah.
done?
That's cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason we had suggested the mulch aspect of it, because there is some areas that are very rooty over there.
Yes.
You know, and it's really hard to do it with anything almost other than mulch unless you're bringing in fill. And
Well,
then it's over there, hay grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Anything coming from the town as they're chipping stuff up? You know, I know you're saying like stuff
Yeah,
coming from
it's
Worcester.
possible.
Obviously, I would think Worcester would be,
Yeah,
they're not allowed to
yeah.
even
No.
ship it anywhere
Right,
anyway.
right.
But, you know, the town must be having a lot of stuff that they're chipping up.
Absolutely.
along the
Brownie just
street,
chipped up a bunch of stuff even at the common
that they
today
might be
for
able.
us.
Yeah.
Took Christmas tree
Yeah,
finally?
yeah.
Yeah, I
For
can
him.
reach out to Joe and see what he has, if he has anything.
That might still live in town.
Yeah.
That's interesting, yeah, because they've got to have a stockpile of chips from all the chipping they've been doing. They've been doing
It's
it
funny
every day.
because
Put it out the dump, yeah.
I looked at, I didn't see any, you know, I've often asked that question, why, and this is off topic, why they don't have a mulching
Yeah,
thing for any, you know, for the town stuff, that
Right.
why it doesn't go somewhere.
yeah, I don't know if they just blow it all in the woods.
I have no
I've seen
idea.
the piles
Well,
around, so
yeah,
I don't
some-
honestly know what the,
Some do, I know they don't, and I don't wanna misspeak on something that I don't know much about, but I do know, like, you can't bring your brush to a transfer station.
Right.
So there may be
Yeah.
some regulation that, or some rule that doesn't allow them to.
But like you say, I know that Joe, they
Chips.
picked up the Christmas tree and all the other
Oh, yeah.
chipping, and they chipped it, so they put it in a truck and hauled it somewhere.
Right.
So I don't know where they hauled it to, but,
Yeah.
You know, when I first moved here from Weston, Weston had a big, you know, when you went to the transfer station in Weston, if you had brush, they had a big dumpster.
oh yeah, right.
You threw it in there, and then they took it, and they had a big composting place on
A pit somewhere.
somewhere,
Yeah.
you know, that they did that. I was surprised that they didn't have it here when I first moved here,
Yeah.
and, you know,
It's an interesting question.
it's.
Especially if
that's
it's,
off
I
topic.
never really thought about mulch and transfer of mulch and.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think if I didn't have experience with the Worcester Tree Initiative and all that
Mm.
great work over there, I wouldn't think twice about it,
Yeah,
to be honest.
But you know, you transfer mulch from somewhere else, you end up with the bugs.
Well, there, technically it's,
Huh?
They're limited to, they can't move anything.
no, so the DCR, without getting like too off topic, the
Down there.
DCR does have a quarantined area where they take the trees, chip them,
Mhm.
and they stockpile. It's limited to the time that they chip and when they do it,
Mhm.
but they're quarantined,
Yeah.
so.
Anyway,
all right, so we can leave it with you to get together with Ellie and do
Yeah,
a
I'll
walk and
correspond
kind of
with
come up with,
Ellie. Yeah.
your ideas.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Just make a note, Joe,
Yeah.
to talk to Joe.
I got one other question for you while we're here on a different topic. The order of conditions is still open on the common.
Yes.
I talked to Joe about it this afternoon, we met over there,
Yeah.
and we kind of, took a look at it and didn't know, because I know it was still being held open due to the knotweed.
Yeah.
And, I think that was the only reason that we were kind of just, it hadn't been closed yet. So I didn't know
Right.
where that was. I kind of thought it was in your camp, on that front. I know that Dawn's also going to talk to you about it, because Dawn was with us today too.
Okay. So where it stood, and I told this to Don when you were working on the closing.
Yep.
Or are still working on the closing, on the town common was, the question came up, is there anything outstanding? Said no, they did a great recovery process in terms of what it was.
Yep.
And we had already removed, I think, the other erosion controls because that was
Right.
stable.
Yep.
The grass has stabilized the area along with some of the plantings that were proposed. We had amended the order to not include the wetland replication area because the site was replicated.
Yep.
Well, not replicated, but improved so much.
Right.
But as far as the knotweed goes, we had asked to receive a management plan or a proposed management plan of some sort, and that would be able to close out the order of conditions.
Okay.
So I haven't received anything yet.
Okay.
And that was brought up again sort of informally in conversation that, at that Board of Selectmen meeting, it was, a maintenance plan not relevant to that vegetation, but I had said that is something we're waiting for, so I don't know if it's good to wrap up in that, or if it's fine either way, but we are still waiting for that on the order of conditions, so I didn't know if that was included in that plan, or if it wasn't, and my assumption is it wasn't.
It was not.
Yeah.
So the plan that we signed, the management plan is signed off by the selectmen.
Yep.
There is nothing in there on the management of the knotweed
Okay.
at all. So I guess the question is, how do we get the order of conditions closed? And is there any additional planning or work that needs to be done there? Because I really didn't have an answer for Joe today. Joe asked, and I was like, I honestly don't know
Okay.
where it actually stands from the perspective of, I can't see anything that's really gonna work down there. I mean, that's been the biggest issue, is
Yep.
this, half of what we have down there, you could remediate, but then there's another acre
Right.
of knotweed that's next door to it. So I don't care what we do,
It's gonna be back.
it's gonna be back, and I would just hate to, go spend any money
Yeah.
when it's,
Yeah.
when we know it's coming back. I mean, we spent a ton of money on the far side,
Yeah.
Yeah.
removing it, and it's.
coming back.
Yeah.
And I mean, we removed it 4 feet down with an excavator,
Yeah.
trucked it out, did all of that. It hasn't dented it.
So I mean, it's up to the commission, but in terms of closing out the order, I would be comfortable just having a document, whether it be a project narrative, saying whether it's cutting a year, whether it's stem treatment suggested, whichever the best management that you can think of, because we know it's an ongoing process, that's a known fact.
Right.
But we need something, because that was, yes, there was huge remediation, a huge uplift of the property,
Mhm.
and we certainly recognize that. We gave you some wiggle room with the remediation area because of that, or replication area because of that. So we're just looking, in my opinion, I'm just looking for something that says, here's the maintenance or management plan going forward, whatever that may be, whether it's, like I said, cutting, whether that becomes every year, they go in and cut it down, they treat it. I know it's really close to a resource area, so that's always obviously up to the commission. But
So do you
just
need that plan
something.
from us, or do you need it from the commission? We were kind of waiting for guidance from you on what you wanted to see there.
Okay.
So that's why I think that there's a little bit of, I don't know where the ball is right now, to be honest.
Okay,
And that's really what I'm trying to understand, so that we can get it closed,
sure.
because we look at it and say, the town's taking it over. We would
Yes.
like to close this for them too,
Yeah,
to make sure that it's, tight. And then we would like to, Joe's crew would like to pull out the rest of those barriers.
yes,
So we want to make sure that you will approve the removal of the rest of that before it gets overgrown,
Right.
It's impossible to get out here shortly.
yeah.
So that's where I'm confused, I'm a little bit confused on, is there something you need from us,
Yeah.
from the engineers, or, are we just gonna say, because I really, I don't see any plan between it being in the resource area, the knotweed being there. You can knock it down every year, but it's gonna come back. I mean, we could use all sorts of good chemicals in there, to take it out.
Yeah.
It ain't coming down.
Yeah.
You
And it's
know,
up
so,
against private
and especially
property,
with
too,
private
which-
property
yeah,
next
it's
door.
nothing-
I don't know what the right answer is
Yeah.
here, guys. I'm just trying to get an order.
Yeah.
Right now,
Is there an easy place, is there a place where we can find a template management plan for something like that? Because I think we're gonna find that it is exactly what you say, it's gonna be an annual or a routine maintenance of
Yeah.
either cutting, repping. And if we're just waiting until we're in possession of something like that, if we can find one that we're amenable with, one that makes sense to us, and maybe
Because you
present
must have
it
it
to
other
the
places
trust.
in town too. You must have it everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I see it everywhere,
When
so.
we could present to the trust and say, we're looking for a management plan, exactly like
Yeah,
this, and
right.
you could just turn around and say, okay,
Yeah.
well, here,
Exactly.
we'll change that to common, here you
Yep,
go.
Because the town's gonna end up owning it.
Yeah,
Right, and I
and-
understand.
So that's what I'm just trying to,
yeah,
how do we help it so it doesn't land on Joe's plate?
and with
Yeah.
no answers for knotweed, whatever the management plan is, will probably change over time too,
Yeah,
as
exactly.
the science
Exactly.
changes and we figure out
Yep.
different ways to do it. But I would think that would work. Could we find something to possibly suggest, saying this is kind of what we're looking for,
Yeah, I can certainly do
if
that.
that makes sense?
Perfect.
Absolutely. And would you want, sorry.
That's okay.
You didn't spell that wrong. Would you want that to be like this again, so we put it on the agenda? Well, that would actually make sense, because if it's on the agenda, then you can close out the order of conditions. But I guess my prior question is, do we need a separate meeting to agree on it, or can I just email you all individually if there are any concerns? You can contact me and then email it to you
And then
if
I'll
there's
email
no
it back to you and
concerns.
say this is what we'll use.
Yeah.
That's the one we like, yeah.
That's fine.
Right.
That's perfectly fine with me. I'm more than happy
Makes
to
sense to
do
me.
it that way.
Excellent.
It's too bad knotweed wasn't a money crop.
Yeah,
Did
exactly.
you make the room?
I have,
already?
No, I
I haven't, it hasn't grown enough yet for me to,
To pull it
To
out.
pull it out.
yeah.
We have a
It's
recipe
big
for
enough.
knotweed salsa.
Yep.
Really?
that I got out of a magazine somewhere.
That may be the
Apparently
bestseller.
it's like
goal.
Rhubarb.
It's not
If it
apples
works.
anymore.
Now I gotta
It's
get
not
the winery to start making it, or
Yeah.
something. You guys start making it, will you?
No, we
I got
want-
plenty of it, I'll donate.
But I sent it to Rebecca and she's wanted me to make up.
I'm waiting for you to try it first.
As soon as I get it out, we're gonna
It's
try
pretty
it.
good. I don't know where I got
If
that
I can
from.
eat that stuff, I'll be so happy.
Perfect. All right, so the only thing we gotta give Joe guidance on is what he can pull out. And if we're saying he can pull out all of the rest of the silt fence. Do you wanna take another walk over there and just validate it?
I'm gonna set, you mean the rest of it aside from the areas with knotweed?
Well, that one area will not, yeah, but there's a lot, I think we can all, I think we've already agreed that we can pull the stuff up on the top of the hill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I thought I had,
You may have,
Yeah.
we just haven't got to it. So
Okay.
that one can all come out.
yeah,
We held the one down near the river, the
Right.
stream area,
yeah,
you know, on
I
that
wanna go
corner.
double
And
check
I
that.
figured you'd wanna look at that, that looks real good now.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned about that.
okay.
And then the only other one is down in the
No.
recent, knotweed area. All right?
Yeah, I'll definitely say the one on top. I'll check the one by the stream tomorrow. But yeah, the knotweed, I would say that can, I don't know, well, it's up to the commission. If they wanna take it out, or if.
I mean,
they
when we
wanna-
send them in there,
I'd
let's
go
do it
with your
once, because you know how much,
recommendation. Yeah,
how much
that's
fun
why
it's
I'm-
gonna.
that's why
And
I'm
it is the
saying-
right time to take it out of there,
Yeah.
because you won't be able to wrestle it out of there
That makes sense.
another month. That
It's
stuff will
gonna
be 6, 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
It is literally growing 8 to 10 inches a day.
Oh, with the
I'm
heat
watching.
coming? it's just-
Yeah, I know, yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yep,
So I mean, I'm fine with that. I'd go with your recommendation on that. If you're comfortable, I would say it's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
we're not gonna do anything.
Stable.
It's definitely stable, without a
Yeah.
doubt, so it's not going anywhere.
yeah, so I can, yeah, so I'd be okay if it's removed.
Okay, okay. I'll speak to Joe about that, and like I said, I believe Dawn is gonna ask you the same questions I asked tonight, so I figured I'd get you
Yeah.
the prep since I was here, yeah.
Thanks. I love being surprised.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming in,
Excellent.
I
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Appreciate
We'll see
it.
you.
Bye now.
Yeah.
Right.
You already took your survey. Any other updates?
We had a wonderful volunteer day on
Yes.
Sunday. We did some storm cleanup at the Moen parking area before it started downpouring, and then we had moved to Fifeshire to do almost the same, and then cut back a trail that had been thrown in, and it wasn't raining at all there, so it was a good end to the day.
Right.
Jeff did a lot of work.
Everybody was safe with chainsaws?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
Jeff
Chainsaw
was the
safety.
only
Jeffs
chainsaw.
and, I didn't have the helmet, I had the helmet on, I didn't have the helmet on, but nobody would knows how, you know.
Everything
And we
worked
had
out.
chainsaw safety training in the morning.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep, that was really good.
Yeah.
I don't know if
very
you've ever
cool.
seen Bob's shop, his wood shop?
Roma?
Yeah.
I've never, no, I've heard it's nice. but-
It's
You should see the place, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's like a commercial,
Yeah.
unbelievable. And he's putting together, this is off topic again, but he's putting together a wood shop at Sturbridge Village.
Yeah, I know he's been working up there,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyway,
He
It was
uses all
fun.
antique tools too, doesn't he?
yeah, oh
Yeah,
gosh,
the original stuff, yeah, he's
Yeah.
amazing.
all kinds of
He's
stuff.
he's amazing.
Anyway, that work went fine, and there's, I think there's some certificates coming to you from somebody. For you,
Yes.
for you to sign off saying
Jeff's okay to use.
Jeff's
chainsaw.
okay to use chainsaws.
Well, that he's been trained in using a chainsaw safely,
Yes.
but is not certified to use a chainsaw, but may on the trails.
Do you have
Whatever.
checks?
Is that official?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
How about their fashion statements?
Yeah.
Just,
That's
You
they're
can
good.
see him from a mile away.
yeah,
Excellent.
It's great.
you know,
No, I actually really do like the color of that.
bright yellow.
Pink.
Huh? No.
Neon.
No.
Yeah.
I have a picture of them somewhere. I had it on my phone. And, you know, I tried them on for my wife just to see if she liked them. She said, they're beautiful. Just lovely.
Bet you make her-
And the guy, Steve Schneider, you know, he lives across the street here.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was, He did, he does a good job with
Yes.
talking about it. And we did have one guy bring in an electric chainsaw that showed him, you know.
Huh.
Fun fact, for those watching who wanted an interesting fact, we have been informed that chainsaws do not stop, chaps do not stop an electric chainsaw.
No, they increase it,
Yes,
Really?
because the torque
because of
gets,
its reaction.
the
to
torque
the
gets
kettle.
heavier. It gets, with the chaps on a gas one, slow the torque down. With the electric one, the electric motor starts, when it starts feeling it builds up torque to try and make it faster.
Yeah, it compensates.
Oh,
So,
because they actually just had a thing on, if you watch This Old House, or Ask This Old House, they just showed the chaps and the chainsaw this past weekend when I was watching.
yeah, with a gas powered one, though,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And
But they,
the difference between it chewing a pair of jeans and the chaps.
yeah, or your leg.
Yeah.
They talked about a bunch of different, they did it before, a year earlier, and this was the same sort of thing, so it just was a good refresher. And there were, what, 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 people there?
Yep, from the Trails
From
Committee.
the Trails Committee,
Yeah.
and then they were on
Mhm.
the, and Bob and Steve and Rebecca. And we're all happy now.
And safe, which is
Yes,
good.
Well,
always,
Which is
try
good.
to be. Oh, actually. East End.
Oh, wow, yeah, East End Road. Cycling back.
you got here.
So the one question we had, because I did last week, we said I thought it was good to go, as soon as we get those numbers, was where to stockpile the
Grass.
grass.
Yeah, I'll read it. Where will the grass layer be deposited? I think you had asked you did.
We did,
Because
but-
you asked where's the material
And
going.
I thought he said on the other side of the building.
Yeah.
Who's gonna use this kind of fill around the
No.
area?
I don't remember the thing.
I remember you saying, where's the loam that you're,
Yeah.
is it the loam? Yeah, the loam that you're removing.
Moving.
Yeah. So
Would
we
we,
have covered that.
would we be comfortable if we said that the grass being removed will either be stockpiled outside the buffer zone or off property?
Yeah.
Does that basically
Yeah.
cover it? As long as we say stockpile, then if he is using it in one of the areas, he's using it at that point.
Right.
Okay.
Actually, and I think, well, we can specify grassy area, but I believe our boilerplate covers stockpiling outside of resource areas anyways.
So, in which case, this question's answered. If it does, I'd say we approve it as it's submitted, as he submitted it.
Get it off our plate.
Well, I mean, we did go through with them last time.
Wasn't he gonna put a fence along there too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
split rail, yeah.
Or boulders
rail.
or something,
Split
split
rail.
rail.
Which I believe is in there, because they
To
haven't
delineate
sorted
it,
it.
which is good, because that way the equipment doesn't keep
Back.
encroaching.
And moving it, moving it, moving it.
Yes, so stockpile. Resource may not be stockpiled, stored, or disposed of. So this is what the line says, let me know if it covers.
What they're asking.
Yep. Debris which includes but is not limited to construction waste, brush, excess soils, or products from chipping, windrowing, burning, and burying may not be stockpiled, stored, or disposed of within wetland resource areas or wetland resource buffer areas, including the 100-year floodplain, 75-year floodplain, and riverfront areas.
But he wasn't planning on putting it in the resource area anyway, right?
No.
It was way
Well,
off the resource.
No, wow.
the riverfront area is a resource area, but it's outside the,
Right, he's outside the 100, isn't that 100 feet?
Where the shed is.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
where the shed is not his barn that he's gonna build.
Correct. Well, the barn's already big.
I don't remember, is the barn already built back there?
It's like a Morton building or something.
I don't remember whether, I can't remember.
Because it's outside the resource area.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion that we close the hearing for 100 East End Road.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the notice of intent for 100 East End Road as currently submitted. Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Writer's cramp tonight.
What?
Well, writer's cramp tonight.
Any other business?
We have, I'm resending you images tomorrow. I received a call. Well, I was informed of potential beaver activity in one place, which I'm still confirming. It's not on individual's property. And it just seems to be high water in general in different places throughout town. But across the wetland area is a conservation property without trails on it, so I just wanna make sure that, where it wouldn't be visible from a trail to easily see it, so I just wanna take a peek out there and see if there is beaver activity, damming, something. I tend to believe it's just seasonal. And then we had a call about a breached beaver dam. I'm still looking into that as well. I went out on site today. A property owner was nice enough to let me access through the back of his property. And there's no fresh beaver activity, so my belief is it was older with the significant rain we had a week or two ago at this point. It just washed it out. There's a small lower dam that you can see the actual water flow, because there was such a significant push, it seemed like, that it pushed out that smaller dam as well. So I'm still asking around, but I think it's just naturally caused. And then lastly, the other item I'm sending images about is I received a complaint that someone had placed a dog fence through the open space property. And in fact, it's not through the open space. It is across a perennial stream on private property, but it's within 10 feet to the perennial stream. It's an invisible dog fence, so it is a small wire about 4 inches in the ground. It is over a maintained area, but that's something that I'll be emailing you the photos about. If there's any questions or comments for however we want to handle that, we can address it.
So they laid the wire down over a stream,
Not over a stream, no.
under it,
Not under it,
around it,
next to it,
next to it.
yes.
So the stream's going this way and the wire's going this way.
And it's not, it's a perennial stream that's pretty
Perennial.
perennial. It's pretty well formed in terms of the banks. There's not a wetland surrounding the perennial stream, so channelized is what I'm looking for the word. So that's why I'm not being lenient about it, but I'm reaching out to the commission versus just running out with a violation or enforcement order. Also, it's a small wire, 4 inches in the ground.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see that email.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. Anything else fun going on?
Oh, there's always fun
Oh.
things. Yeah, we have a walk on Fifeshire tomorrow with the New England Wildflower Society's Fred Shackler, and that will be from 10 to noon.
All the
Tomorrow?
bloodroot are out.
Huh?
I said all the bloodroot are blooming.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
So
what?
hopefully we'll see
Bloodroot.
it. It's really pretty. I took a great picture of last year.
Yeah, we have a swath that is just absolutely gorgeous this time of year.
Janet used to always point out when we first went to Fifeshire, we point out
Yeah.
the photos to me.
Oh,
Come down.
that's really it.
Oh, good.
You want to handicap the Kentucky Derby? You have winners for the
Is there
people
any-
watching at home?
Is there any horse-themed conservation?
I don't
Fifeshire,
think there is.
Walk
But
Hill?
we'll look for that.
And vodka's a winner.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right, yeah, it's all our fun. All right, in that case, I'd like to make a motion that we officially close the May 1st, 2018 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. So close. Good night, DOT.